Once upon a time, there was a merchant who had 3 daughters. Every year, on a specific day, he had to travel to a faraway city to collect money. His wife and daughters stayed home, but one sad day, his wife passed away. This worried the merchant because he didn't want to leave his daughters alone.
"I'm afraid to leave you,"
he told his daughters.
"I worry that something bad might happen while I'm gone."
He couldn't find anyone trustworthy to do his business for him, so he faced a tough decision. Leaving 3 beautiful girls alone was risky.
"Don't worry, Father,"
his daughters reassured him.
"We'll be fine on our own."
"How can you be sure?"
he asked.
"I know there are dangers, like thieves in this city who might take advantage of my absence and steal from our home."
"We'll lock the house tightly and not let anyone in,"
the daughters promised.
"Remember not to let anyone inside,"
the merchant reminded them. With a heavy heart, he embarked on his journey, worried about his daughter's safety. Now, outside the city, there was a group of bold robbers. Their leader had noticed the merchant's departure and came up with a plan. He disguised himself as an old beggar. When evening came, he led his gang to the street near the merchant's house and knocked on the door.
"Please, have mercy on a poor soul,"
he cried.
"It's pouring outside, and I beg for shelter from the storm. Let me in for the night."
"It's a terrible storm," the eldest daughter said as the wind howled and the rain poured. "We should help this poor beggar." The second daughter peeked out the window and saw the beggar.
"He's old and needy,"
she said.
"Our father taught us to be kind to the elderly."
"But we promised Father we wouldn't let anyone in,"
reminded the youngest daughter.
"We can give him some food and help, but we must keep our promise."
The elder sisters disagreed, opened the door, and let the beggar inside. They provided him shelter and food.
"Such a night isn't fit for sending a beggar away,"
the eldest sister said while they ate.
"I'm glad we helped him,"
added the middle sister.
"But we shouldn't forget our promise,"
the youngest one insisted. Unbeknownst to them, the beggar had sprinkled sleeping powder on their apples. The elder sisters ate theirs, but the youngest couldn't, so she threw hers away. After eating, the girls went to their room. The sleeping powder quickly made the elder sisters fall asleep, but the youngest pretended to sleep. The beggar, in disguise, went to their beds. He poked them with a pin to check if they were truly asleep. They didn't react, and he assumed the sleeping powder had worked. Then he noticed the youngest's distress but thought she was also asleep. The youngest girl watched as the beggar moved around the house, gathering valuables. She heard him unbolt the store's heavy doors. She crept out to observe him closely. In the dining room, she found the beggar's sword, which he had left behind. She knew he thought they were all deeply asleep and wouldn't need his weapons. Soon, the beggar went outside to call his gang. The brave girl rushed down and locked the store's doors securely. It was difficult, but fear gave her strength.
"He won't get back in easily,"
she thought as she waited. Footsteps approached, and she knew the thieves were back. They cursed and tried to break down the door. It held strong, and by daylight they had to flee. When the sleeping powder wore off, the elder sisters woke up. They were amazed when the youngest shared her story.
"I don't believe it,"
the eldest said.
"You're making it up."
"You probably had a bad dream,"
added the second sister.
"I had a nightmare too, and my head hurts."
Only when the youngest showed them the robber's hand and the sword did they believe her.
Why did we let him in?
The eldest lamented.
We should have kept our promise.
The middle sister regretted. When their father returned safely, he was relieved to find his house and daughters unharmed.
I see you managed well without me.
He said, embracing them.
I worried for no reason.
The eldest daughter blushed and confessed.
We were in great danger, but thanks to our youngest sister, we're safe.
Our little sister is very wise.
The middle daughter added. After hearing the whole story, the merchant declared,
From now on, we should listen to our little maid's wisdom. She's beyond her years.